Welcome to the Marshall Municipal Utilities Review. And I'm Elaine Conyers, and our guests today are Steve Johnson and Jeff Larson. And I just want to go back a little bit and talk about, we started this series last week. Hopefully everybody got to see it on public access television, and it was very, very interesting. If you can't, you could go back and look at it. We went and followed the pipeline of water from Marshall to the Sanis aquifer. And so that was very interesting, going in the back roads and everything. And we got over there and we visited the aquifer. We don't know how many wells there are in that aquifer, which is near Wood Lake. But we do use 3 of them for Marshall. We've been using those for like a couple of years. And so first of all, I want to mention, why are we going out of town, out of Marshall, to get water? Well, as I mentioned last week, when the big glacier came across Minnesota over at what we call Buffalo Ridge, it took a deep dive down into the ground, and it just destroyed a lot of things there. It pushed the dirt away. It pretty much took any of the aquifers that were in that area because it went so deep. In fact, I worked with DNR at one time, and we did a study. The elevation from Buffalo Ridge to Marshall is greater than from Marshall to the Gulf of Mexico. So we're way down deep in there. Now, on the other hand, Marshall has always been a regional center. It continues to be, and our local utilities has seen that, and they're taking care of it so that we can continue to have water here as residents, as businesses, and manufacturing sites. So part of that then is to find other aquifers in the area to keep supplying Marshall with water. And they've done a good job because they've been able to continue to build as a regional center. Well, then I want to introduce, first of all, Steve Johnson, who is the electric operations manager. Correct. And last week we met Jeff Larson, and he's here with us again today, and he's the water superintendent. Now, we have a lot of stuff to cover today, and I'm real interested in hearing it. I learned so much last week. It was amazing. So what would you like to start with?
Well, thank you, Elaine. Every year we like to update our commission what we've did in the past year. So today we'll be doing our 2015 year in review, we call it, and we do present this annually to our Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
And so today I'll be going over the electrical projects that we did in 2015, and Jeff will be reviewing the water projects we did in 2015.
Very good. Both of them are very important to sustaining our community.
Yes, they are. So,
who would like to go first?
With that, I can go first.
Okay.
We'll just start off with the first slide, and the first one of the first projects we completed last year in 2015 was the amateur sports complex. And as you can see here in the slide, there was a lot of conduits installed out at that sports complex.
Yeah.
We had 4 ball fields we had to get conduits to. We had to get power to them, communication lines to them. And we have color-coded conduits there, and that helped us because this was put in and everything would be pulled in later. We had to have color-coded conduits, and that helped us identify what runs to pull where, to the dugouts, concession stand, lights, etc. Here again, this is another trench that we had 19 electrical and communication conduits in it. So it's quite complex out there in the early stages of that construction of that site.
When did you start this? A year ago then, or was it even before?
We started this particular project was done early last spring in 2015.
Oh, it was,
yeah.
Okay.
Other projects we do, as the city does water main and storm projects throughout the community, we have to do things like lower our electrical system and communication systems that were installed years ago because they're in the way of the new project. And I just go through some slides here. Here's A Street. That was a project in 2015 where our crews had to go over and lower the electrical and communication conduits. We also we have started in 2015, we started a cable replacement program. We are going to be replacing all of our cable that was installed in the mid to late 80s.
Okay.
That particular cable only had a 25-year life expectancy. So it's getting to that point where it could fail at any time. So we're being proactive, and we are going ahead and replacing that cable before it fails.
Wonderful.
So these next few slides just shows you the type of work we do so the community can see. If we ask them to come into their yard and do this work, our restoration work is very good, and within a year you don't even realize we've been there. And you can see on the left, that's the type of construction, a hole we need. On the right is after the fact.
Yeah.
Here's another one out in Westwood Acres. We have to, go through trees and everything else, but once again, once we're completed, you can't even tell we've been there.
Right.
And just another photo showing a similar construction site and then what it looks like after the fact. So we can be reassured if we ask you to come into your yard and do some work, we are going to clean it and repair it and restore it to near original as possible. I also wanted to show a little bit here. People see these green boxes sitting out in their yard or out on the road right away. And they really never know what's inside of one of them.
Yeah.
And this sort of shows, on the bottom photo, shows what it looks like from the outside. But when you open them up, they are pretty complex inside. On the left side, that's all high voltage. That's all 13,800 volt disconnect. And on the right side, that's the metering part of the cabinet. So that's what actually takes care of metering this particular customer. We also try to do a conversion project, 1 or 2 each year. And in 2015, one of our larger conversion projects, when I say conversion, we're converting the overhead power lines to underground.
Yeah.
This particular project was out on Highway 59 and County Road 33. And the photo on the left, you can see the overhead line, the down guy, the overhead line that's circled there in yellow. And after the fact, that is no longer there.
Do you think that eventually all the lines will be underground?
Currently, we're 100% underground with all of our residential.
Okay.
But our goal is to achieve about a 96 to 97% of our system will be underground. We have some lines that are underneath our transmission line that they may never be buried because the transmission lines, the 115,000 volt lines will always be there. So there will be some overhead lines, but the goal is to reach about 96% of our lines to be underground. Here's another photo showing on the west side of Highway 59 after it was buried. You can see the overhead line has been removed and all that's left is street light. And this was during construction when we actually had to bury it along the transmission towers and go underneath Highway 59. And there again on the right you can see the cleanup work. Here's a transformer change out that we do, and we do a few of these a year, and we do them for numerous reasons. It helps in our line losses if we can replace our older transformers and get more efficient transformers, and we want to replace them before they fail. And this one we've started seeing some power quality issues with it, so we replaced it, and that sort of gives our citizens of Marshall an idea what's inside of a transformer. There's a lot that goes on inside them that they don't realize when they see the green box from the outside. So, and that's just another photo of what's inside of them. Here is a customer that we needed to replace a transformer, and in today's world, customers don't want to be without power for any length of time.
Exactly, yeah.
So we were able to replace this transformer for this customer with a new transformer pad. That's the upper right-hand corner photo. And we were able to put our portable generator on for this customer. So this generator ran for almost 30 hours, and we were able to replace the transformer, and the customer was out for only maybe an hour or so of that 30 hours, only when we hooked up the generator
Okay.
and disconnected the generator.
Boy, that's really a good idea and keeps everybody happy.
Exactly, and it's important for them to be able to keep their business running.
Exactly.
You know, so we try to achieve that whenever we can. Here's the pedestrian crossing bridge out on Highway 23. That was a large project last year for the community.
Yes.
And this was Saratoga Street here, and what I wanted to show here was the new lighting that we put up on Saratoga Street. And that's the photo on the right there. And one of the biggest concerns with building that bridge was the line that you see on the left there is a high voltage transmission line. It's a 115,000 volt line.
Ooh.
We had to keep that in service.
Yeah.
So when they were putting the pylons in for the bridge, we had to make sure that they maintained a 25-foot clearance from that line at all times. And the contractor and the engineers did an excellent job with doing that. So we were able to keep the line energized the entire time the project was being constructed.
Wow.
So it worked out very well. They did a good job
Good,
of being
good.
able to maintain that. And here's showing our crews actually putting the bridge lighting on. We used one of the city street department's smaller bucket trucks to install those lights, and we were able to drive right on the bridge and do so. This is a project we did over on Highway 59 on the intersection of Southview Drive and Highway 59. We had to replace cable and put up new lights. These are some, I guess you'd call them fun photos, or I guess are interesting photos. We have these things happen throughout the year. This particular one is out on County Road 7 where a car had hit a transformer that serves a bunch of lights out there. And I want to really stress here, whenever this happens, you know, just absolutely stay away from this. You never know if it's energized or de-energized.
Yeah.
If anybody would have this happen, just call us right away. We'll come out, take care of it, secure it, make sure it's safe. And but it does happen. These next few photos show we have this happen several times throughout the year where light poles will get knocked down by vehicles. And there again, don't mess with them. Don't try to take them off the road, because there are energized wires at the base of those, and we will come out and take care of it. Just simply give Marcia Utilities a call, and we'll come out and take care of securing it.
I've never seen one of those poles laying down like that, so you must be quick to get out there.
Yeah, we will as soon as we get a phone
Sure.
call. We have 20 minutes. We'll usually be out there within 20 minutes to a half hour and make sure it's
Sure.
secure. Here's some things we need to do because we don't realize when someone might back into it or back over it. So we put bollards around all of our high voltage and transformer equipment. And the next slide shows that what happens if you don't put bollards around it. And that's a pedestal. You can see it laying flat as a pancake there in the gravel because someone had run over it, and we don't want that to happen to our facilities. So.
Right. Boy.
One of the things that maybe citizens don't realize, but there again I talked to you about customers not wanting to be out of power for any length of time. So our line crew, our electrical department, we work a lot of lines energized, and those guys are working on 13,800 volts there energized because they cannot take that out of service. If they take that out of service, there will be customers without power.
Right, yeah.
So they've been trained to take the proper precautions to be able to work lines energized, and we call it hot work. And here's another example. And when they're up there, you know, you can be distracted easily, so you really got to stay focused and realize what you're doing and do it as safe as you can. And our guys do an excellent job of taking all the proper safety precautions. Here's what we experience once in a while in the winter when we have frosty days. And I just thought this was a nice, cool photo that you see once in a while, and you'd think that would be arcing and flashing over, but it seems to hang in there and stays energized. So
you really don't, in today's world, you really don't have a problem when the blizzards come through, and I don't remember our electricity ever being out.
Right, and that goes back to the things I'm showing you
Yeah.
here with the preventive maintenance work we do,
Oh, yeah.
and all maintenance work for that fact, and us burying the lines, burying our overhead power has helped very much in that area. This is one of a pole that is actually not one of ours, but it's one of our customers' poles, and this is what happens when you have contamination get on your pole. We actually had a pole fire here, and it destroyed the service, and then we had to replace it for this particular customer.
Wow.
Oh, one of the big events was APPA Rodeo. APPA stands for American Public Power Association, and that's a national organization.
Okay.
And they host a line workers rodeo every year. It has never been hosted by Minnesota.
Oh, really?
So this was the first year that Minnesota was able to host it, and it was hosted down at Canterbury Downs, and by the city of Shakopee was one of the main hosts. And we were a big part of that. Marsh Utility is a big part of that. There was 38 Minnesota utilities that participated in building the rodeo grounds. And on the bottom photo there, you can see the rodeo grounds was built in 4 days. And it's a very important building that grounds that it's built to precision specs. They can only be within inches of each other because you don't want to give anybody a fair or unfair advantage when they're competing in this rodeo. And the next slide, and then in this last spring in April of 2016, the Line Workers Rodeo, actually the competition started. What the competition is, it consists of journeyman teams and apprentices. And journeyman teams are three journeyman linemen. That means they have 4 years of experience or greater, and there's a team of 3. And this happened to be our particular MMU's journeyman team, Nate Jansen, Cody Raveling, and Tony Mead. And they compete in the journeyman events. There's also an apprentice events, and that's if you don't have 4 years of experience, you can compete in the apprentice events. And in this particular rodeo, we set a record. There were 63 journeyman teams competing in the at the Minnesota site, and there's 130 apprentices competing this past year from across the nation. That's all 50 states that compete in this, and it was a great event. The day wasn't so wonderful. We had 40-mile-an-hour winds, and it made some of the linemen from southern states not appreciate the cold weather so much in Minnesota, but this happened to be one event that our guys were competing in. That's 2 of our linemen on the journeyman team competing in this event. This happens to be one of our apprentices competing. Or wait, this is the video. This is the Hurt Man video. And I'd like to just show you one event. It's a short video. This simulates that if there was a lineman on the line that had become electrocuted, and we had to go up and rescue this lineman, this video shows the procedure you'd follow to rescue a hurt lineman. And it's about a 30-second video, so we'll just watch it through here. And he secures his legs there so that on descending, the groundman can control the actual, this is a mannequin, or a rugged Ron they call him, simulating a hurt lineman. But by tying his legs there, the guy on the ground can help control him as he descends.
Sure.
You got to make sure that it's tied at the right height, and also when it's tied around the mannequin, that it's tied securely so it doesn't slip off him as he's going down. So he's got him on there now. Now he's cutting the gut strap, and they lower him to the ground so CPR could begin. So that simulates a hurt man event. They have 5 of those events in both the apprentice and in the journeyman.
Okay.
And our guys did quite well this year. And when you're thinking about, we're a rather small utility. We're competing against some pretty large utilities, and our apprentice, Trevor Morin, got second place in the apprentice written test, third place overall. And our journeyman team ended up second place in the journeyman 4 kV insulator changeout and 8th place overall out of 63 teams. So,
Boy, that's just really outstanding. And the first time there, too.
well,
Or have you been
we've
there before?
competed in the past.
Oh,
it was
okay.
Trevor's first time there,
Okay.
so it was Trevor's first time he's competed. But our journeyman team has competed in the past.
Okay.
But still, just an excellent showing by our
Exactly,
guys.
right.
And here shows everyone who competed. Derek Bartness is on the far left. Trevor, Cody, Nate, and Tony. These next few slides are just some things I want to make our citizens of Marshall aware of. They'll see these stickers on transformers that are in their backyards or in their boulevard. And I hope they pay attention to them, because it's real important that they follow the instructions on these, because the next slide will show you why. Because when our guys need to come and de-energize this transformer, you can see one of our linemen on the left has a stick in his hand. That's the only way we can de-energize that. And if someone plants a tree or a bush or a shrub or puts a shed in front of that,
wow.
we
Yeah.
are not able to operate our sticks,
Sure.
and we would not be able to de-energize that transformer.
Yeah.
So it's very important that they follow that. One of the next projects we're going to be doing over the next several years here in Marshall is we are going to be changing all of our high pressure sodium lighting to LED lighting. And that just shows you the photo on the bridge. That was LED lighting. This here is a photo looking down Saratoga Street. The photo on the left is high pressure sodium lighting. The photo on the right is LED lighting. So that's the difference you're going to start seeing around the community of Marshall.
Wow.
Quite a difference. These were some of the 2015 construction projects that we did in 2015, and these are some we're doing in 2016. So a lot of these have been completed. And all the photos we've shown in the past, the maintenance we do and the transformer changeouts we do and the cable sizing all comes back and helps this graph. And what this graph is our electric distribution system losses. And this shows where we compare to the national average. And as you can see, the red line on this graph, we're down under 2%.
Okay.
And that is excellent compared to the national average is about 6%. And the upper Midwest region is at about 3%. So we're below both of them with our system losses here in Marshall.
Great.
The next slide is annual ASAI. ASAI stands for Average System Availability Index. And what that means is this is the percent of the time that power is available. And I know you mentioned earlier you can't remember a time when the power is out. Well, this is why right here. Power is available to our customers 99.9997% of the time.
Yeah,
So that's very
pretty
few
good.
minutes a year that our system has any power
Right.
outages. So that's all I have for the electrical portion of it.
Well, that was very, very interesting and very reassuring to the public to know that you people are out there. You're studying this and you have vision for the future, and you're proactive to make sure that bad things don't happen and that we always have electricity. Thank you
Correct.
for all your work. Well, Jeff Larson, you were on the show last week. You're back here today because you are the water superintendent. And what added information do you have for us? It was such a good trip we had last week visiting that aquifer.
Yep, that was the big project we had in 2014, and today we're going to be going over the projects we did in 2015.
Sure. Yeah.
And I can just get started by, we had one project in 2015 that was a totally new construction project, and that was Margaret Avenue. That was total water, sewer, and street. That's the street that had to go in before the new liquor store was built,
Oh, okay.
just to the west side of it.
Sure.
And then with reconstruction projects where we go in, and I know you were on TV a couple weeks ago with Glenn Olson,
Yeah.
visiting a few of those sites
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
And reconstruction, it's kind of a destructive form of construction.
Oh,
where it
okay.
looks like a bomb went off, basically,
Oh,
if you live
yeah.
on that block. But in
Right.
2015, our biggest project would have been the North A Street and Redwood Street project. A Street from Main to Marshall, and then a block of Redwood
Yeah.
from A to Walker Lane was reconstructed. Everything, as you saw.
Yes.
The other large project we had that in 15 was along the diversion channel from 7th Street to Highway 59. We replaced some 16-inch water main, part of our trunk main loop through town. And you can see the condition of that pipe. Was put in the 60s.
Wow.
Gouges and the hole in the pipe there. We have been experiencing quite a few breaks on the water main that was put in 1960 and before.
Is that metal pipes?
That's ductile iron. Ductile iron and cast iron doesn't do well in Marshall with our corrosive soils.
Oh, okay.
So we replace it with PVC now.
Okay.
We had one small in-house project, the Sandus line, which we covered last week, that
Yeah.
went through. This is on Country Club Drive. We have 2 wells down there. And we tied those 2 wells into the new Sandus raw water main.
Oh,
And
okay.
abandoned an old 60s vintage era metal line that went kitty corner across the field to the water plant.
Okay.
And this is just a few pictures showing that construction going in. D&G construction of Mankato, or Marshall put that in. And we refurbished the 2 ground storage tanks last year that sit in front of the water plant. They're 2 million gallons apiece, and we recoated the inside and the outside. On the previous picture, you can see the lettering or the striping being done. And when that was being recoated, you can see where they had some white lettering, or it wasn't the same colors of the black and orange, and I probably received dozens of calls, people concerned that we're changing the coloring of our paint scheme,
Really?
which we're not. But the residents definitely like their black and orange.
Oh, okay. That was,
I found
they
out.
like those color. Well, that's
There's
interesting.
a lot of concern on that, so we're gonna keep the black and orange. On the left, you can see the inside of one of the tanks after it was recoated. It was sandblasted and recoated. To the right, just a few pictures of some semi-trailers. There's sand in those for the sandblasting. It actually took 6 semi-trailers full of sand to sandblast the insides of those tanks.
Wow.
This is showing both the ground storage tanks, and this year the elevated tanks are getting recoated. When we do that now, we're putting in, this is showing a mixer. It's basically a motor and a propeller. It mixes the water, and for 2 reasons. It keeps the water fresher because the water won't striate in the tank. You know, the warmer water wants to stay on top and never come
sure.
out.
Yeah.
So this alleviates that, and then operationally, tanks in northern regions, Minnesota,
Yeah.
the water wants to freeze inside them in the wintertime.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
before these got installed, we'd have to raise and lower the water levels in the tank 6 to 8 times a day just to keep the ice from or the water from freezing inside.
Wow.
So it's a big help to us. Underneath the water plant on the southwest edge of town, we've got some underground storage, which we call clear wells. In 2015, one of the clear wells underneath the water plant, it's lined with a plastic liner, and it was leaking. So we had to replace that, and to the right you can see the plastic liner comes in rolls. It's about the thickness of a nickel.
Okay.
So
And that holds up, obviously.
yeah,
real
20 to
well.
30 years is what
Wow.
you can get out of a liner. And you can see on the top, the crew attaching it to the top of the tank and how it comes together on the bottom. In the next slide, you can see they basically melt or weld those sheets together
Okay.
to make it waterproof. Another little project we had out at the plant, our sludge holding tank, our lime sludge holding tank. We took down just because of capacity issues. On the right, you see that's a mixer. There's 2 of the mixers in this tank. And this lime sludge goes into this tank, and we mix it, but over time, you know, some of the solids will settle out and accumulate on the bottom. So we wanted to get in there and clean that out to get, there's a couple feet of that
Okay.
settlement in there, so we had to get down in there with fire hoses, and we borrowed a pump from the city wastewater department to pump that out to regain capacity, and it helped out quite a bit. And with our KPIs, our key performance indicators, like Steve had mentioned a few on the electric side, water losses. Water loss in the state of Minnesota, the DNR likes it to be under 10%. That's the blue line on this graph. National average is 14%, which is the red line.
Okay.
And in Marshall, we're the green line. We're usually around 4 or 5%. That's due to our maintenance programs and fixing leaks on a timely manner and keeping our water meters accurate.
Good, good.
Well capacity factor. This is something we judge ourselves against. It basically means having adequate pumping capacity to meet our peak daily demands. You can see going back into like 2011, towards the left of the graph, our goal is 95%. We're commonly over that line. And now with bringing Sandus online and maintaining our wells and treating them and re-drilling quite a few wells, we're able to stay below that 95%.
Wow.
The water utility excavation graph is something we judge ourselves against. Our goal is 30 excavations a year or less. That's main breaks, valve replacements, hydrant replacements, or service line leaks, basically, are the 4 big ones. And we want to stay under the 30 excavation a year because that equates to 6 work weeks for our crew. An excavation on average will take 3 to 4 guys a day to repair. And if we can stay under that limit, you know, it enables the size of our crew to get the other critical work done.
Right.
In about 2000 or so, the city and MMU started a more aggressive replacement program on the sewer and water mains.
Okay.
And that's helped out tremendously. Before that time, 50 excavations or more a year were not uncommon.
Oh my, yeah.
Another thing we like to measure is our residential gallons per day per capita. The DNR goal on that is 75 gallons per day per capita.
Okay.
The old standard was 100 gallons per day per capita. And what we're measuring is what average residential consumer will use in a day. And you can see going back to the 2000s, it was close to that 75, and the last few years we've been closer to 50. That's due to just awareness of conservation.
Oh, wonderful that people are paying attention. Yeah.
People in Marshall have that on their, it's one of their thoughts.
One of their, okay, great.
And well, another factor is we don't have the cheapest water when you judge ourselves against the region. We're fine, but in Minnesota, it's a state of fairly easy water. So when you compare ourselves against the metro or places of that nature, we're doing fairly well there.
Good.
And in this year, some of our projects, in 2016, the Bruce Street water main replacement project is completed. That was from Lyon to 19 College Drive.
Oh, okay.
Bruce Street was all replaced.
Yeah.
The East Lyon, Jean Avenue, Redwood Street replacement, that's almost complete. You were on that project a few weeks ago with Glenn. In the South Second area, we've got about 3 more blocks of replacement to do there.
Okay.
And we also are recoating the Bruce Street and Oak Street water towers. The Bruce Street is complete, and the Oak Street will probably be done in about 3 weeks.
Oh, so the one on Bruce is done. I was wondering.
It's done and in service.
Yeah, okay. Didn't change the color there either.
No.
I didn't notice.
Actually, that one did change. That was the
did
last
it?
one under the old paint scheme.
Well, that's very, very interesting, and it keeps everybody busy, doesn't it?
Yep.
And as you know, the public, we really appreciate that you're on top of this and taking care of all of our needs. It's great. So, anything else you'd like to add before we close the show?
That would be about it.
That'd
for
be
me.
about it. Okay.
No, I don't have anything other than like I said, we do this every year. So
Every year,
yeah, so
right.
next year we'll have another year in review.
Yes, good. Well, we'll look forward to that, and thank you again for all your work.
You're welcome.